Greetings and welcome to the latest edition of the Entheogenic Evolution Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Martin, and I'm happy to be with you today. This is my first podcast episode that I've put together since returning from Iceland, so I've got a lot to announce and a lot to share with you today. But first, just let me tell you about today's episode. We've got Ali Nuit, who is a French podcaster, and he's joined me to talk about psychedelic cocktails, research chemicals, and just his general interests in the world of psychedelics and working in particular with synthetic molecules. And he's got a lot to share there. We actually had our conversation even a couple months ago now, and it's just been a while since it's come up here in the rotation of what I've had planned for the podcast. So Ali, thank you for your very generous patience in actually getting to this episode. Also, just to let you know while I'm thinking about it, we did have a couple transmission issues in the original recording, so there's a couple places where I had to cut and condense what happened because we just had a blank out there on Zoom. So there's a couple awkward spots in the conversation. I'm sure you'll probably notice them, but just wanted to let you know that that's what's going on there. Okay, before we get into the interview, let me, first of all, issue some thanks. While I was gone in Iceland, I had Dawn, Nathan, Justin, and Matthew all join up as supporting members over at my Patreon page. Thank you guys so much for showing some support and becoming a paid patron over there. As I mentioned every week here on the podcast, it's a great way to support my work and support the podcast. There's everything from $1 a month paid subscription up to $100 a month. You get increasing access, bonuses, and benefits as you go up the scale. Of course, there is no obligation. You can change at any time. You can cancel your subscription. You can upgrade. You can downgrade. It's whatever you want. That's at patreon.com/MartinWBall. And of course, at the top tiers, you get either a 30-minute monthly video call check-in with me or a 1-hour monthly video call check-in with me. I do work with a number of people who facilitate psychedelic medicines, and they use that as an opportunity to talk about their practice and their experience or any challenges that they're undergoing. Also, people who are wanting ongoing integration and support. That's a great way to do that. And it's a little bit less expensive than paying for a session directly. But of course, I'm always available for 30, 60, or 90-minute video calls to help you integrate your entheogenic experience from a non-dual and energetic perspective. You can stop by at non-dual-entheogenicintegration.com for more details, or just shoot me an email at martinwball@gmail.com, and I can set up a call with you at our earliest possible convenience. Wow. Yes, so much happened in Iceland. It was an amazing experience, and I've got various things to share with you, the listening audience from Iceland, and some of that's going to be coming out incrementally here on the podcast, but I'll just let you know what's available immediately right here, right now. First of all, I was very active with my photography in Iceland, and I have now put out a trilogy saga of videos that are available at the Entheogenic Evolution YouTube channel, featuring my original music and my photographs from Iceland. The first one I put out is Icelandic Ice, and it's all photographs of ice in Iceland. And I know that you might think well, that just sounds boring, and it isn't. There's so many beautiful, beautiful photographs I was able to take of ice in Iceland. And, why not support some good ice, some cool ice, some ice that's so good they named a country after it. Not like what's happening with ice in the United States these days. Anyway, so I've got that video. That's where I started. Then I had just absolutely mind-blowing, amazing experiences of the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights in Iceland. There was a solar storm that was the biggest that had happened in the past 25 years, and I got to see it and photograph it. So that is video number 2, is the Aurora in Iceland. It's available at the Entheogenic Evolution YouTube channel. And then the third and final installment is Landscapes of Iceland, which is really something that I've always wanted to do, is to go to Iceland and photograph the landscape because it's so beautiful and so stark, and just the color palette is amazing. And that's the third video. So it's got some really great photography. Of course, it's got all my original music in there. So I invite you to enjoy those. Check them out. They're at my YouTube channel, Entheogenic Evolution. Or if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, then you've probably seen them posted there. But I invite you to check them out. just a fun way to share some of the visuals from the experience. Just amazing. Also, over at my Patreon page, now this is a couple things that I've exclusively made available for my paid supporting patrons at Patreon. But you can sign up at the $1 a month and you get immediate access. But I have the 2.5-hour talk that I gave at Reykjavik. I did an audio recording of that. It was a lot of fun as a talk. It was very dynamic. It had been a while since I had been in front of a crowd, and so I really leaned into it, and the crowd really ate it up, and we had a great time. It was really just a fantastic experience giving that talk in Reykjavik about 5-MeO DMT. That is available over there at patreon.com/MartinWBall. For anybody who's a paying member, you get automatic access to that. Also, in doing the experiential work with Mindscape students and students from the 5 education program run through Tandava, those are the folks who brought me out to Iceland. And before starting our experiential work with the medicine, I gave them a version of the talk that I used to give to my clients before starting any kind of energy work or medicine work with them. And we made an audio recording of that. And I thought that that would be useful to make available to people. So that also is available exclusively at my Patreon page. For anybody who pays $1 a month and up, you get immediate access to that. And that is about an hour and a half long. I will probably be making those available here on the podcast at some point in the coming weeks or month or so. But for now, they are exclusively available over there at my Patreon page. Now, also speaking of Iceland, I had a very good conversation earlier today with Helgi, who has been featured on the podcast here a couple different times, and someone who I've collaborated with musically, and Flameus. They've got their show, and they brought me on to talk about my experience in Iceland. And we recorded that a little bit earlier today. It's about 2 hours long. And we also talked about me sharing that here on this podcast. So we're going to be doing that sometime in the next week or two, I would imagine. But that's a very interesting conversation in particular because Helgi also came to where we were doing our medicine work with the students, and he came on the day that we were working on large doses, and Helgi got a session. And he had a lot to share that he wanted to talk about on that interview for the podcast today, and going to be looking forward to sharing that here. I did mention, I forgot to mention this, that I did want to say thank you to Tomislav, as I was giving my thanks earlier, but Tomislav just came by my Bandcamp page, martinball.bandcamp.com, and purchased my entire musical catalog today. So thank you, Tomislav. I hope you enjoy the music. And let's see. Of course, if you just want to stop by my Facebook page, I have published many, many, many photographs of Iceland, more than are even in the videos. But I did include a lot of those in the videos that I've mentioned with the ice, the aurora, and the landscape. So if you just want to check out the photographs from Iceland, just stop by my Facebook page at Martin W. Ball on Facebook. And wow, I think that's all that I have in terms of announcements and thank yous and information for you, the listener. So let's go ahead and get to this conversation with Ali Nuit. Again, he has a YouTube channel that is in French. You can go to youtube.com/@Nuit, and that's Nuit. That is French for night, but it's all in French. So if you don't speak French, probably won't do that much for you. But if you do speak French, then, go check it out. And he's got a lot of interesting videos over there. So here's our conversation from a couple months ago now. Again, Ali, thank you for your patience and waiting for me to get this out here on the podcast. But let's go ahead and dive in and talk about psychedelic cocktails and research chemicals and the exploration of things that many people don't often explore with Ali Nuit. Well, I'm excited to welcome on to the Entheogenic Evolution podcast today, Ali Nuit, who likes to go by Nuit. And for those of you who don't speak French, that means night, as in like when it's dark outside, not Knigget, someone with a sword and armor. Ali, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for welcoming me, Martin. So Honestly, I'm really happy to be there because I didn't know your YouTube channel before. I just knew the one book of you one book you wrote long ago that a friend borrowed me when he made me try 5-MeO DMT, and I discovered that you have a YouTube channel like not so long ago, and I'm really happy to be there and to exchange with you.
Cool. Well, Ali, we've got a lot of different things that we're going to talk about today. And there, my dog sees a turkey. She's going to start barking. I know the Zoom audio filters cuts it out, but I hear her in my ear, so it's always a little distracting. Anyway, I always like to start with somebody who's new to the podcast, of just inviting you first to just share about yourself. And then I know you have your own YouTube channel, you've got your own show, but probably most of my listeners don't know who you are because it's all done in French. And my listening audience is the English listening audience. And I do have some people who listen in France and read my books in France, and actually working on a couple translations into French at the moment with a listener there. But you're probably new to my audience. So Nuit, let's just start with you and about your own story. And of course, I always ask everyone, well, how did you get interested in psychedelics? What brought you into this world, and what caught your attention? But let's just start with, let's hear about Mr. Nuit.
Thank you. So my story began when I was like 17 years old. I was like finishing high school and I was getting bored. Like honestly, at this moment, I knew really little about psychedelics. Like a friend told me that you can hear colors and like see music under the effect of LSD, like synesthesia effects. But I didn't know much. So one day, I was just bored and I was like, oh, maybe there are some drugs that aren't illegal I can try. The first thing I tried was nutmeg, if you know nutmeg.
Yeah.
So I tried one, like the effect was really strange. I was like, okay. And then I discovered like cough syrup, but not like the cough syrup of people like drinking lean codeine, etc. I discovered DXN, dextromethorphan, which is like a dissociative that has acting on NMDA receptor. So it's something like closely related to ketamine. And that's after my really first experience on DXM, I had like a strong realization. And the realization can be put in this word, like you're living your life for yourself, not for anyone else. Like it's your life, whatever happens in it. Like you choose what you're doing. And a few months after, I went to France, and in France, here in Europe, the market of research chemicals, you probably know research chemicals, like a molecule that are in the gray area of the law, and there are a lot of psychedelics in them that were created by Alexander Shulgin. That's the first psychedelics I tried was LSD. So an equivalent of LSD, I think it was 1P LSD. There is tons of LSD derivative. And I got really passionate into like the psychedelic world, and not only like purely psychedelics. I was also interested, like the family that really caught my interest, are like psychedelics, dissociative, and empathogens, like the one that are now studied like in their therapeutical purposes. But the first year, I was really curious to try all the drugs, and maybe I tried in the first maybe in 18 years old and 20 years old, I tried maybe like something like 80 different chemicals, from like opiates to psychedelic to dissociative to stimulants to many things. And when I was like 20 years old, I had a really strong transcending experience, and it was sort of a candy flip. Like the classic candy flip is like LSD followed by MDMA. And this one was 1P LSD followed by 6-IPB. 6-IPB, which is a phenethylamine benzofuran that is like a long-lasting MDMA with some psychedelic qualities. And it was my first ego death breakthrough experience that completely changed my view of life, my life completely. And from there, I really wanted to go deep into the world of discovering psychedelics. And 5 years after discovering them, I started my YouTube channel in French, where I tell people about like my experience, some tips, some different molecule I tried, many things like in the subjects and everything related to it. And I started writing articles for a research chemical website. So that's great. Like I was a young man who discovered this website. Was, oh wow, that's crazy. And now I write article for them. And yeah, that's my road. That's where I'm going, and I think we'll go more in the detail of what I'm going through the discussion and where it will lead us.
Yeah. So let me ask you a follow-up question here. So I know that you mentioned, I think it was before I started hitting the record button, but you're in Morocco right now. And so in what you just recounted of your own story, you mentioned moving to France. Were you raised in Morocco? And then did you move to France, or where were you when you first started this exploration?
I started this exploration like in Morocco. I lived in Morocco like my whole life before going to French for like post high school studies. And in Morocco, like the access to more molecules is really not easy. I think like all Africa is difficult to get like some molecules, not all of them. But I really tried only the dextromethorphan, like the cough syrup dissociative, before going to France, where in Europe, like I told you, the research chemical market is really big, and it's easier to find molecules.
So I myself, I don't know a whole lot about Morocco. I'm a typical American, right? Like, well, I know it's North Africa, right? And I know that it was colonized by France. And, I know about Marrakesh. Morocco is quite famous for that. Lots of people like to travel there. We have a little store downtown here in Ashland, Oregon called Alice in Marrakesh. And it has a lot of like Moroccan rugs and, things like that. But I'm just curious if you could tell us a little bit more about life in Morocco and what culture is like in Morocco. And you've already mentioned that, there's some interest in psychedelics there, but there's not a lot of access. But I'm just curious what we would want to share about Morocco, just for someone like me who's never been there, doesn't know a whole lot about it.
Okay, so Morocco, you probably know, like we're the biggest exporter, producer of hashish, hashish, the cannabis resin. Yeah. But the law is very strange, because the hashish is really really cheap. Like you can have like 1 kilogram of hashish, like a bad quality one, like the last quality you can have for $80. You can have 1 kilogram of hashish, but there is some people in jail for 10 grams of hashish. So like the law is really strange, because we're the biggest producer of cannabis and people can go in jail for really little quantity. That's crazy, because a lot of young Moroccan smoke cannabis. I was myself too, years ago, smoking cannabis every day, so that's for the substance way. In Morocco, you have lots of psychedelic, the gellige. I don't know how we say gellige, like where you walk, gellige. So gellige is things they put on the ground, like motifs, psychedelic mandalas. Yeah, okay. Mandalas like you can find on the ground, on carpet, on many things. And the history of Morocco and like North Africa is like 1,000, 1,040, 400 years ago. Like the Arabs, like Islam population came from like Middle East and come here to spread with the sword the Islam, like the religion. But before we find like in some cave, in some places, like there is one in Algeria, not in Morocco, but I think there were similar things here. A painting of like a shaman with like mushrooms in his hands. And in Morocco, they use Syrian rue, the imao, to combine like with acacia to create DMT, but like. I think it's not anymore used like orally. People use it like as incense.
Yeah,
like Syrian rue is used as incense. What else about here? I think like this last year, people got more and more interested about psychedelics. Like 10 years ago, when I was like, yeah, I went to France, I tried something like LSD, etc. People like for them it was something like too far away, too crazy. But in this last years, I found more and more, especially young people who discovered and tried psychedelics like LSD. And I think in Morocco, there are some places where you can find, like in the mountain, where you can find like psilocybin. It's psilocybin, let me remember the name. I think Mayray, you can find psilocybin Mayray here for the shrooms. And I don't know why, but there is a lot of psychedelic cactus, like San Pedro cactus here in Morocco. I think maybe someone imported it like 100 years ago or something, and it spread. But like from time to time, you can find like in front of a house or something, many San Pedro growing.
Yeah, that's kind of like down in Southern California. San Pedro cactus is really popular in people's gardens, and you can walk around neighborhoods, and there's just huge San Pedro cactuses all over the place. And also, a lot of people like to grow Brugmansia trees down in Southern California. I guess the climate is good for that. So, you get the trees with the big bellflowers hanging down, the tree datura. And there's also lots of native datura that grows down in Southern California. But, well, thanks for the little bit of the snapshot of Morocco. Obviously, there's a lot of history there.
Yep. I wanted just to add some little thing, because you talked about Brugmansia. In Morocco, there are a lot of Brugmansia tree. I only found like the Datura one, maybe only once or twice. But like you find Brugmansia, a lot of Brugmansia trees somewhere, like a lot, one after the other. And something that is really like bad in Morocco is like some people, like when they talk about like sorcery in Morocco, when they talk about sorcery, in fact, it's just someone poisoning you with like datura root powder. And like you have this like not in America, but like in South America, like in Colombia, people in Colombia, people like blow or put scopolamine in your food, like so people get high and don't remember everything. And like scopolamine is extracted from Datura brugmansia. But in Morocco, like really people can put it in food, and it happened to me and my brother. And it was like we literally went completely crazy, and we ended in the psych ward for a month and a half.
Yeah,
because someone poisoned us with brugmansia.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole class of plants that I personally don't have really any interest in working with any of those. And actually in North America, throughout the American Southwest, many of the native cultures did traditionally use datura. I mean, this is something that's mostly been lost and forgotten at this point. And, it doesn't get rolled out when people talk about indigenous culture and entheogens. They talk about, here's the peyote and the mushrooms. But actually a lot of these cultures did use datura. And in many cultures and instances, it was more closely associated with sorcery and witchcraft than it was with, quote, shamanism or healing or things like that. And not in every case. It's important not to, just demonize the plants or anything like that. But, in those cultures, definitely datura had a very mixed reputation as, as a psychedelic agent, and then what kinds of behaviors and activities it might be most closely associated with. So there definitely is a history there. Fortunately, I've never heard of a case of anybody being intentionally poisoned with datura. But I'm sorry to hear that happened to you. I'm sure that was a really horrendous experience and not pleasant at all.
Yeah, completely. Because it's when you're under the effect like of psychedelics or dissociative or something, you know you're under the effect of something. With datura and like delirogens in general, like anticholinergic class, you don't know that you're under the effect of something. So like for me and my brother, we were just living like the world was completely changing, and it was like you go into some like prophetic, messianic things when you think like you're here to change the world, etc. And yeah, like, and people don't even know that you're under something because you just are crazy. People like,
yeah,
when you're under the effect, you can be really dangerous. When I read story about like Brugmansia datura, people who consume it, like you're lucky if you end just in the psych ward. You can end up like killing yourself or killing someone and ending in jail. Like really, you have no control over yourself under these substances, and I really don't see how it can be used like in like psychedelics for grow or something. Like maybe this plant can have something to teach in some particular way. I know that in South America you can like diet with like they call it towe. They know they call Brugmansia towe, and but really like they just put a leaf under not under the bed, like under the pillow. Yeah, under the pillow they put a leaf of Brugmansia and something like this. But yeah, like this plant can be really, really dangerous. Like honestly, when I got poisoned with it, I was caught by the police in the psych ward, and like my brother too. Like really, we were like acting crazy, and you go delusional for days, even weeks, like days of complete craziness and weeks of like little craziness, and it can impact you for years. Like the brain damage can last for years, and like you have a completely traumatic experience. Like it's scary. It's scary as shit. It's like it's really scary.
Yeah,
honestly.
And
yeah.
Just in case anybody hasn't been turned off by that description, I'll also add that this is seriously toxic, and you can very easily overdose. And even if you don't overdose and die, these compounds do create actual brain damage. They rot out the prefrontal lobe of the brain. So in general, I'd recommend if you're going to do something like Toei, like please only do it under the guidance of an experienced traditional healer who knows what they're doing and knows what a safe dosage is versus what is an incredibly dangerous dose. But nobody should ever try this stuff on their own. So anyway, public service announcement. So then you move to France, and you're like a kid in a candy store. You discover the research chemical company websites. And this is something that we do have access to in North America, in the United States. There's a lot of restrictions, things that are, quote, illegal in the United States. These companies will not ship those to us here. But there's a lot of various phenethylamines and tryptamines that I know that you've enjoyed exploring, that these are available on research chemical company websites. And there's a lot of strings of letters and numbers and all kinds of stuff. So let's start to talk about some of these. And it kind of sounds like, are you comfortable with the description of saying like you're a psychonaut? I mean, you sound like you're someone who's interested in exploring as many different variations as possible and combinations and enjoy that exploration. So is that accurate for you?
Psychonaut is perfect for me. I also call myself like an independent researcher,
Mm,
and yeah, like I'm psychonautism in general, like not especially limited to the use of substance, but psychonautism in general, like with the isolation, meditation with the candle, like Friar Casina, like maybe some people are know these kind of things, but yeah, perfect.
cool. Well, I'm interested if we could maybe even do it in chronological order about what you first found, what you first tried, and then how you built off of that. And I'll just share for me, when I first experienced 5-MeO DMT back in 2008, I then went online and I found the research chemical companies, and I just tried like ordering stuff to see like, well, let's see if there's anything comparable to 5-MeO DMT out there. And I tried a bunch of different tryptamines. Most of them, I ended up calling them breakfast tryptamines, meaning that it's like so weak and uninteresting that I could eat that for breakfast. Something I found that in our email exchange, you mentioned this one, so I just thought I'd mention this, that I did find 5-MeO MIPT and found that I really, really liked 5-MeO MIPT.
Yeah, Moxie.
Yeah, Moxie. That's what my dog is named after. My dog's name is Moxie.
Oh,
You
great.
can't see her. She's over on the couch over there. So my wife and I ended up naming our dog after Moxie because we both really enjoyed it. And then later I discovered 4-ACO DMT, and I really liked that because it was essentially mushrooms without any of the gas or digestive issues that can come with mushrooms. And then also explored a number of different phenethylamines. But so that's my little window onto the research chemical side. But where did you start with? Like as you're going through these lists of letters and numbers, how'd you pick? Like, well, I want that one.
Honestly, how I was picking, like the first, like when I arrived in France, I didn't know the website. I know there were websites to order from, but for me, it was something like really complicated to access. And like I was trying, like people who were like studying with me, yeah, do you know where I can find LSD or something? I was having answers like, yeah, we have LSD powder. I was like, okay, people want to sell me cocaine and call it LSD or something. So I started researching it deeper. And one time I stumbled, I think long ago, there were a list of like research chemicals on Reddit. It's not there anymore because of maybe laws or some things. But yeah, I went through this research chemical website and really like you have like you don't know any molecule. You really like read about like LSD, MDMA, 2CB that is like original, and you stumble upon a website where you have like dozens of different molecules. And for me, the first things I had ordered was like 1P LSD. I was like just went in the molecules that were closely related to LSD, and I started reading about like looking the one that is the closest to LSD. And I ordered MXP, which stands for methoxphenidine, which is like a dissociative, like all dissociative like can be put between like ketamine and like PCP in the other hand, and like MXP fall somewhere in the middle. And really, how I picked it up, I don't know. Like maybe it was just like the cheapest one, and I was like I researched like maybe a little about it online, and I was like, yeah, maybe I could try this. And my first experience, like I ordered it and I wasn't sure if it will arrive or not. And that particular day when it arrived, I was in the day before I was with friends. We did like cannabis milk, a really intense cannabis milk. Like I was waking up completely high. And I was like in university. Like you have like just a little room, and they put like the envelope under your door. And I was like there, and I was like, okay, I have to go to school the afternoon. I saw the envelope going under my door. I was like, no, I'm not going to school this afternoon. And my first experience with something other than like the dextromethorphan that I told you, and like cannabis, alcohol. And even at that moment, I maybe like drank and smoked maybe 10 times or something. I didn't like use a lot this like mind altering substances. And the first time, that day, while I was still high on the edible, I took in the end, half a tab, like 50 micrograms of LSD. And I added a little MXP. And and like for the LSD, something really fun, my first time, I was like, okay, we just microdose and take a little. And then I was like, I should take a little. I was coming up. I was like, okay, I want to take half, but I didn't cut the blotter. I didn't cut it the right way, like a quarter, and then I should take another quarter. I just cut a lot of things. So I started using like geometric mathematics by coming up with a little dose of LSD to know exactly the shape I should cut to have my 50 micrograms.
And how did that experience go?
In the come up, I was like, when I was having like just like 1/4 chop, like 25 micrograms, my friends were still like eating before going to school the afternoon. I was with them. And then when I came back home alone, I was, let's take more. And when the effects came up, it was really intense. Like my mind, so many things were going on. And I downloaded the subject of like the baccalaureate I passed. I don't know if it's the same name in the US, like the exam after the end of high school. And I downloaded the math exam that I passed the year before. And I was like, okay, I will do it on LSD. I just need my mind to focus on something because like it's going everywhere. And I remember when I was doing mathematics was having the taste of an ice cream, a blue ice cream, was called the Schrumpf ice cream that I was tasting as a kid. It was the taste of mathematics. And I remember seeing all the, like when you do maths, you choose a method and you go by it, but you can take another method. Like right now, I was having all the method going at the same time. And like the faster one, I was going with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite an interesting math experience.
Yeah. I tasted mathematics. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like you had studied mathematics, or I mean, not everyone has a ice cream math experience while tripping. I'm just curious about your background in mathematics and how that arose within your mind.
I always was like really good in mathematics, like something I'm really good at. Like, tell me your birth date with the year, and I will do you a little math trick.
Okay, November 26th, 1972.
1972. You're born Sunday. You're born Sunday.
I think that's correct. I don't actually know.
Yeah, because I trained like this when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And like right now, I think I'm in like there is a worldwide championship in this, and I'm the first on my country, and maybe I'm like 72 worldwide. Like I really feel mathematics.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go study this. Like I started in France. I did 2 years in engineering. And I hated it, honestly hated it. I was like enjoying just the moment in the weekend where I could trip and do something else. And yes, after I did like some psychology, but I really didn't like the way the study were around psychology. And I stopped studies. I was like, okay, I will like just learn about what I want to learn alone.
Yeah. So does math come up a lot for you when you're tripping?
Yes, when I'm tripping, and when I'm not tripping, I always like have a strange connection to numbers. Like imagine someone like obsessed with like numerology, but also calculating extremely fast.
Yeah.
Like that's it. And really, I remember one trip that I had like maybe 6 years ago when I took 2CP. It's like a really long-lasting 2CB. I was really having all the numbers one by one telling me their story. That was like going like not back in time, not really like backward in time, but like discovering time, not time as we see it, like something chronological going, but like each number telling me his story.
Wow. This is just
Yeah.
fascinating. I'm really intrigued by this because it seems like your mind works in a very different way than most people. I mean, most people don't have these kind of mathematical experiences. And, I've seen enough movies of mathematical geniuses that I know that they're out there. And it definitely sounds like you are one of these types that just has this very natural inclination towards mathematical processing, and that it sounds like it's rather effortless for you, and that not only effortless, but could get transcendent in some ways.
Yeah, honestly, like I really view, like right now that you're telling me this, a lot of things through the number spectrum. Like even addiction, like at one moment in my life when I was like 20 years old, I was going really deep into poly addiction, like cocaine, tramadol, many things. And the way I got out of addiction and like today being consuming nothing is like really I was viewing the numbers. I was like, I should go to the zero. Like you have like maybe you're addicted to like 4 or 5 substances. Like a lot of people, you have like cigarette, alcohol, caffeine, and then you add, and then you add. And I was like, I need to go to the zero. And really in my mind, I have like, I can see curves and things like this going to it. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, mathematics is a big part of my life in a way.
Well, if anybody ever makes a movie biopic about you, I think there'll be lots of really interesting special effects related to numbers and mathematics. So now I'm jumping ahead, but I just have to ask you because now I'm like super, super curious. So you shared the video with me of your 5-MeO DMT experience. So my question that comes to mind is anything mathematical in that experience for you, or do you have any associations with any numbers or math from that? I'm just really curious.
No, like 5-MeO DMT, I did like 3 real doses, like medium high doses. All the other doses were like little micro dose.
Hmm.
But like in my tree experience, no, like 5-MeO DMT for me really sent me to the void. There is like nothing. So no, like really 5-MeO DMT for me is the least mathematic one. I can
Mm.
really like. I think when I go like the more mathematical, maybe it's like the when you go like the LSD family, like with the LSD, ILAD, ETLAD, etc. But yeah, no, 5-MeO DMT wasn't mathematical at all in my rememberings.
Wow. Okay. Fascinating. That answer in and of itself, I think, is just as interesting as any numerical answer you might have provided right there.
Yeah.
Cool. So, getting back into your own explorations and sort of the chronology of it there, when did you feel like, hey, I want to start writing about this or talking about this and sharing about this? When did that show up within your own exploration of these different molecules?
It was like long ago, long after I started. Like I started exploring molecules like middle 2015, and I started doing like my videos in 2020, and yeah, like after writing my articles, etc. Um, I think like the first years, even if I explored the more intensely the first 5 years, um, I was still like like you finish high school, you think you should go to school to do something to have a degree, so it was hard for me to put like what I wanted, that was like for researching about psychonautism in the middle of my life. And like in like 2018, I went really down the rabbit hole of addiction, like some molecules that I before I was just like trying them, like cocaine, tramadol, etc. I went really deep, like not a long time, maybe like just few months, like few months where my addiction was like really consuming like something like 20 pills of tramadols every day. And yeah, and when I stopped this, I also stopped consuming psychedelics and every molecule. but cannabis, alcohol, caffeine, like the basic ones, for maybe a year. For a year, I didn't touch anything. I think it was more because of the social pressure that a person's choice, because really, I have fucked up with drugs, like, let's say it that way. And yeah, so people don't really know the difference that like psychedelics can like heal you and are anti-addictive. And that's what helped me. It was a trip of LSD and 2CB when I was like, okay, I will stop right now every drug. Like, it was a psychedelic trip that got me out of the consumption of molecules. But yeah, after I was going through a hard periods with the withdrawals, and that you have to like to build yourself back up from hardcore consuming, etc. And yeah, after a year, like I went back on track. I was like completely healthy again, and that's when I got like
Nuit, hold on a second. You froze for just a second there. So you were just talking about when you went back, and then we had like a 10-second freeze there. So let's see if we can rewind just briefly.
Okay, perfect. When I went back into exploring molecules, I went like really lightly, like maybe a little trips, etc. And everything was going like well. I was like getting on the horse again, and that's where I got poisoned with brugmansia. Like me and my brother, we got poisoned with brugmansia. So yeah, you go completely crazy. You go to the psych ward, etc. And because you consume psychedelics and like when you're poisoned with this, like it took me years to realize I was poisoned with brugmansia. Before I didn't know, like they don't do like blood tests to tell you, yeah, you were poisoned. Like they're just, yeah, you went completely crazy. It's probably because like you take drugs and you smoke cannabis and things like this. So I was like kind of forced to stop everything again, because the narrative around me was like this guy was taking drugs and then he went crazy, and it took me again some time to went back into psychedelic exploration, and at that moment I wanted like to share about it again and to put it in the middle of my life, and yeah, I really wanted to share what I passed through, like someone, let's say, someone young who discovers substances alone with the internet, buying from the internet. All my friends that were tripping because of me. Like I never really found lots of people that were tripping, and the majority of people I was tripping with were discovered psychedelics through me.
Yeah,
and I was like, it was a difficult road. Like it was a difficult road with psychedelics, especially that you're exposed to like all kind of drugs when you discover some drugs. I don't know for you how you discovered it, but like when you discovered substances when you're young, you have like all the substances in front of you. It's not like you don't have like the maturity to know which ones are harmful or not. So yeah, my YouTube channel is about this, like psychedelic exploration, and also I talk about my addiction and like the difference between all families of drug to let people know what is harmful, what is less harmful, what can be useful, what is dangerous, what is not, the practice, how you should like protect yourself. Everything in this subject.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great thing to step into an educator role, and coming from some fairly difficult personal experiences, I think is very useful for people in the sense that you have discussed here. You've shared how you turned your life around, then how things went bad with the brugmansia and coming out of that. And that I think that it's always important to share all of these different sides of these kinds of experiences, and that having a voice who can speak from personal experience of having gone down the wrong path and then making the choice to, heal yourself and move on and rebuild a life for yourself. I think that can be very informative for people, especially if they are just getting their information from the internet, where like I just had a conversation with a guy last week, and the interview just came out today that he contacted me saying that he wanted to have an interview just mainly focusing on what are the risks of working with 5-MeO DMT. Because he said, if you go on social media, everyone talks about how great it is and what an amazing experience they had. But some people are really deeply traumatized and really deeply negatively impacted by that. So I always like this idea of we want to give full disclosure about everything. Let's talk about the benefits and let's talk about the risks. Let's talk about the dangers. Let's talk about the rewards. So we can really only talk about those from personal experience, I think. I think that those are the most resonant stories. So you've mentioned your YouTube channel. Let's go ahead and let's tell the listening audience what is the title of your YouTube channel and where can they find it? And as I think you've mentioned to me, it's all in French, right?
Yes, exactly. So probably the YouTube channel, you find it in the description or on the video or the title or something. And my channel is named Nuit. Like we told, the name I use online, and the Nuit, the night in French, and my channel, it's been 5 years. I'm going on it. I have maybe 150 videos, all in French, and about the subject, about everything related to psychedelics. I did some practice. Maybe you'll be interested in talking in it. I did fire casino really deeply, meditating with the candles for hours and hours. There is a great study online about how this practice can be as intense, not just as psychedelics, but as high dose of mushrooms or DMT. And I also did dark room therapy. And the darkroom therapy, darkness isolation, and I talk about it in my YouTube channel. I also have a video how to build a darkroom therapy in your room, and I spent between 2022 and 2023, 6 days. 6 days and 6 hours, 9 days and 9 hours, and 12 days and 12 hours in complete darkness isolation with complete you don't see anything, you don't hear anything. And I didn't consume psychedelics in it, but the last one where I tripped just before entering, before putting the darkness, shutting down the candle, and I microdosed shrooms the first days in the darkness.
Yeah, and what did you feel the microdose of shrooms? What did that add to the experience, in your opinion?
The first few days can be really boring. All days have their difficulty and their joy, let's say. But the first few days can be really boring because you have to get through a lot to go into it. And also because in theory, the melatonin in your brain build up because you don't see the light, so it goes down and build up, and melatonin because something be transformed into something else. I don't remember the name exactly, but I think it's pinolin, and then pinolin in the fourth day or fifth day transform into DMT, and then there is a conversion again in the ninth days into 5-MeO DMT. So I think when you enter the states when you have in your brain DMT and 5-MeO DMT, it's not boring at all. But the first days when you have nothing, the shrooms can help you go through it and ease into it. Microdose of shroom is really great. And from my personal experience, because this is just theory, but I tried DMT and 5-MeO DMT in microdose, really little dose. I tried a nasal spray where you have half a gram of 5-MeO DMT bromate or hydrobromate or something like this, which is less potent than DMT hydrochloride, and nasal route is less potent, I think, than smoking. Yeah. So in equivalent, you have a quarter of milligram in each spray. So really a really tiny microdose. And I tried microdosing in smoking and different practice, and really microdosing 5-MeO DMT and DMT was really close to the feeling you get after many days in the darkroom.
So I was going to ask, if somebody said, Ali, Nuit, what do you recommend? Do you recommend doing 9 days in darkness or just smoking some DMT or smoking some 5-MeO? Like, what would what would be the appeal for doing the 9 days in darkness? Or is it just like, yeah, I did this really intense thing and I had these experiences, and that there's kind of a joy in doing that? It's like, well, I climbed the mountain. Why did you do it? Well, because I could. I'm just curious. What is your response to that? Like, why do that versus just go right to the molecule?
I think your first question was like, would you do this or this? I would say you would do both, one
Do
and then
both.
the other, do one and the other at the same time. Like it's like food. Would you eat like just carrot or just fish? No, I will eat carrot and fish, But like, I think in complete darkness isolation it's a psychedelic experience, but like you don't have just the experience. Like I think it's not just the molecule going in your brain, like also isolating yourself from the external and like in a really intense manner. But like I think how many people here that are listening to us didn't touch like a screen for like 9 days since they were born. Like for me, since I was born, I remember I was like a baby, like probably there was a TV near me or something. So
Mm.
before this experience, I never spent like 9 days like just without a screen, and then you add without music, without people to talk to, without live. I think in this isolation you can go like really deeply into introspection. Like in a trip, you can go intensely and fast into introspection, but like in darkness, it's more gradual and. I don't know. It's a different experience that can have moments of high intensity and and maybe share a lot of benefits and like effects with like a psychedelic experience. But there is also some things completely different,
Mm.
like that you don't live in a classic psychedelic experience. So I think like if psychedelics, like you're curious, you love the psychedelic world, going into altered state of consciousness, it may be something you can be interested into. That is like probably more difficult to step into.
Mm.
I don't know. You need a lot of courage for smoking DMT or 5-MeO DMT. A lot of courage to hold it in, etc. But it's one point, like not one point. It's like you need that courage at that one when you smoke it. If you're a pussy after it's in you, that's not a problem. It's in you, going into your pores. But in darkness, you can withdraw from the dark whenever you want. So it's. I don't know. There is a lot to tell about it, and I don't know exactly how to express it.
No, well, I think that that's a very interesting answer. And I really like the fact that you have tried both DMT and 5-MeO, and you've also done the 9 days in total darkness, so that, just like we were saying before, you get to speak from personal experience. And I appreciate that you have now described, like, once you get that 9th day and your body is starting to produce some 5-MeO, that you say that, well, it's like a 1/4 milligram of the nasal spray. And I just think that that's a great point of comparison, because I have had people who have only done dark room tell me, oh yeah, it's just like smoking DMT or like having 5-MeO. And I've always been kind of skeptical, like, I don't know. Like whenever somebody who hasn't had psychedelic experience claims that their experience is equivalent to a high intensity psychedelic experience, I'm usually really skeptical, because like, yeah, I don't think you really know what you're talking about. But I appreciate that you've tried both, and now this is your take on it. And I think that that's totally valid, and that's where there's the value of having personal experience and, making our conclusions from there. And like, as you say, having both the carrot and what was the other thing? Carrots and
Fish, yeah,
carrots and fish. Yeah,
fish.
you've had both the carrots and
Yeah,
fish, so you can speak about it. You're not just someone who's only eaten the carrot and then is offering an opinion on the fish. That's great.
yeah. I'm completely. I really like one of the reason I did like darkroom, because a lot of people were like, yeah, you can have this state of mind just with natural ways like
Yeah.
meditation and things like this, etc. I was like, I did it. I went there, and yes, you can. But will you? You that don't have like the courage to smoke something because it's illegal, or because the school told you it's bad and you'll go to jail or go crazy if you do it, will you have the courage to like stay with yourself and there is nothing where you can escape for 12 days? Like, yeah, that's it. And that's one of the reasons why I did it, to answer this question. And like for the intensity of it, I think like in the nine, like my most like intense, like the one that was the most intense was 9 day and 9 hours, because I focused completely into breath work and meditation. And like there were moments, I don't know if the meditation, the breath work or something intensified the experience, but I had like maybe 2 or 3 moments where it came up really intensely, and I really feel myself like dissolving and going upward. And maybe like some peak moments, like maybe it's the intensity or maybe 5-6 milligram of 5-meo DMT for maybe an hour or 2 hours. But I didn't have it with the same intensity and duration when I didn't practice, like I didn't focus on like meditating like 10, 12 hours a day and doing like intense breath work technique, like the breath of fire and the holotropic breath work and this kind of things.
Yeah. So you were kind of augmenting it through breath work and meditation. Just at the practical level, I'm curious, what do you do about eating and going to the bathroom when you're in a dark room for, is it 12 days? I think I said 9 days a few times because we've emphasized the
No, no,
day, but what was it, 12 full days?
I did 6 days, I did 9 days, and I did 12 days. I did three
Okay.
experiences.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you do
So
about eating and going to the bathroom?
to do it, me personally, I do it like in the room. I tell my parents to give me their rooms, because that's the only room that where the toilet is like in the room. Like the toilet is in the room. Like you like the toilet is completely dark and you can enter from it from the room. So I'm in complete darkness, and no light is coming in. Like you have to do particular thing, like put some things in the, like it's not just you shut down the light. Like there is no single pinch of light
Yeah.
that enters. And yeah, for the food, like I generally fast for the 3 or 4 first days. I only drink water for 3 or 4 days. And then after, like I have a technique when like my mom, thank you mom, was cooking me food and bringing me to me, and I was like going in the toilet with something up on my eyes. So I'm sure like no light will come on, and she will like put the food in the exact same place like every day, and I will eat it, and she will take it back and put another food the next day, etc.
Wow. That's awesome. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what do your parents think of all this?
Honestly, like in the beginning, when I was telling them about this, they were like going like against. I think like every parent, especially because I told them about this like when I went, like when I was addicted to everything, and I came back and I was like really in a bad shape. And so they had like they were like against it, but like as it went, and I started my YouTube channel, and I started going deeper and deeper into this. Yeah, there were a lot more open minded to it. Like I always want them to try. They don't want to they don't want to try. Like maybe my mom tried like microdose of cactus few times, a really tiny microdose. But yeah, my dad like don't want to try, and I'm like, yeah, you're always interested. You were when I was younger, interested on way to improve the brain, to explore the brain, etc. But I think like the propaganda around psychedelics is really strong, especially in like maybe older people that were
Yeah.
influenced by this propaganda long ago. So yeah, but like right now they're like happy for me. Like I have my articles, like that's my work.
So you had mentioned going to the seminary and sharing your experiences with students in the class.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't do it yet, but I'm invited to it.
Right.
And like my parents were happy because like maybe a few years ago, my parents were like, yeah, what you gonna do with your life? And I'm like, I'm doing this. Like just like it's not the classical things when you go, you study, you have a job, etc. But yeah, like I see really big, like I have really big ambitions, and I'm like, yeah, like in what I want to do particularly, studies aren't helping me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
All right. So there's a couple things there that I want to come back to. So first is the articles. When did you start writing articles? And Nuit, are you telling me that you get to try these research chemicals and then you get to write articles about it and then you get paid for that? Is that your work? Is it that hard?
Really telling it like this is really great. But yeah, in fact, like I have articles in particular molecule. Like I have an article in 2CB fly, which is in English for the ones who are curious. I have like 2 articles in English if someone is curious. But yeah, and I have one other article in 2CE, which is a wonderful molecule, like really closely related to mescaline. So yeah, the molecules I tried them like years ago, and right now I read articles not always about some new molecules, sometimes about like practice. Or recently I read an article about killing DE, like someone who was like in the psychedelic world. Like maybe you know him. He died years ago. He was like taking like really high doses of like 50 grams of shrooms and talking of psychedelics and martial
Oh,
arts.
Glindy.
Killing the yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Kalindi.
Yeah.
I brought him out here to Ashland a few different times.
Oh
Yeah. He and I were buddies. We didn't spend a lot of time together,
man,
but
that's great.
yeah, really enjoyed every time I was with Kalindi.
Man,
Great guy.
I love Killindi. I really I went through a lot of everything he did, and like he's the one like when I started searching about psychedelic and martial arts because I want to go really deeply in martial art with the use of psychedelics. He was the one that showed like the origin of martial arts were coming from psychedelics, and when I went in the dark room, like the last time when I spent 12 days, I was spending 12 days training every day for hours and hours every day in complete darkness. Like my goals in under like altered state of consciousness was to do with the use of substance or with the use of practice to go really deep into martial art training. And my goal, one of my goals is really like to beat everyone with the training under martial arts. So like people are like, well, we should try psychedelics. Like
Yeah.
it's one big goal that Killing D made me like realize and give me many tips. I never had the chance to talk with him because he died before I
Yeah.
discovered him. But yeah, I fucking love this guy. Like, yeah.
Yeah, Glindy, he's a real badass and
Yeah.
just a great guy. I really enjoyed the times that I got to hang out with him and have conversations with him.
You're really lucky, man. You're really lucky.
Yeah, yeah, and to have had him come here to Ashland a couple different times and speak. There was what was it 2014 through 2019? I organized what was then the only conference about psychedelics in the state of Oregon, and actually I think that would include all of Oregon and Washington as well. So I was exploring psychedelics here in Ashland, and Kalindi contacted me once. He's like, I want to come. So I was like, all right. And then every year he's like, can I come back? It's like, sure, come back. So I think he came like 2 or 3 times out here to Oregon. And then we also spoke at a conference together in Vancouver, Canada. And we stayed at the same guest house and, got to spend like a long weekend together. But he was always a lot of fun. I miss Kalindi. Yeah. Let's go back to France for a little bit. I'm really curious about what you can share with the listening audience about what is sort of the state of psychedelic culture in France right now. Like you mentioned that you're going to be going to this seminar, you're going to be speaking to some students who are studying psychedelics. How much of it is it a part of the culture, and also in creating like your own YouTube channel? Like you mentioned that most of the people who were taking psychedelics were taking them because of you. So it sounds like you hadn't really found like a community or anything that's been established, but through creating the podcast or your YouTube channel, have you been able to connect with a wider psychedelic community in France, or does it even exist? I'm just curious what you might share there, because I don't know anything about what's going on in France.
In France, like right now, they started like 1 year or 2 years ago studies in psychedelics. Like I think there is two. One is about the use of psychedelics for alcohol addiction, and the other one I forgot, but I think they're giving like 5 meo DMT to like rats. I probably these rats are having like maybe a ego death experience. I don't know, but me when I was in France, like the psychedelic community, I didn't found like the psychedelic community was like the people who were going like to raves and festivals, but it wasn't what matched with me, because for me I'm really going deep into psychedelics. Like I'm not really interested in no more in the recreational potential of it. And like for me, someone like who tries psychedelics but isn't curious about something beyond the LSD and shrooms, like isn't someone like I will feel like, let's say, comfortable going deep in the subject and tripping with. So when I was in France, like I think people are curious about it. Like I found lots of people that were like tripping with me, like something that was great. I was tripping like with a couple of friends a lot. And the next year when I was in second year and new people went in first year, like one guy was like his parents, like his dad was like from I don't know where in America, and his parents like were did trip on LSD when like he told me when he was 10 years old, he was in the woods and his parents and his brother were doing shrooms, and he was like 10 years old going around. And yeah, he was having a really trippy house, like a house with really psychedelic things, like flower painted on the walls and many things. And we were tripping a lot in his house. So like my community when I was in France, like people I met, people like who discovered psychedelics with me. And right now with YouTube, I really meet a lot of people, like people of all ages who come talk to me. But in general, it's people that discover psychedelic, let's say alone or like with their friends or their wife, girlfriends or something like this. And there is a lot of like I think people who speak with me explore really like I don't think there is something like a big community about psychedelics. Like even like you have community, you have like Facebook groups or things like this. Like you can talk with people and meet people. Like in fact, not really, because like the people you will find in festival or rave doing psychedelics are not like passionate about psychedelics. Not maybe I'm judging on the few people I've met and I shared with, but yeah, that's how I see it. But there are a lot of people who talk with me, who discover my YouTube channel, who want to go like really deep in alone in introspection, like someone with their wife or a husband or whatever in this exploration. And in YouTube in France, we don't have that much YouTube channel about psychedelics. And like there are a few that are like not special about psychedelics, like substance in general, but like it's more like the recreational way of substances, like people doing trip report. It's fun, it's intense, there are harm reduction. And there is like in the other side, like people who are really into like, let's say plant medicine, who will talk about ayahuasca and shamans, etc. But like for me, my community, I really focus on people who are like tripping like by themselves or with their friends. They want really tips. They're like alone in their house. They had the big trip. They have no one to talk to, and like really giving them tips on what to do, how to trip, how like straight to the point.
Yeah. So you just touched on this really briefly, and I'm just curious to ask you a little bit more about it. So currently, for example, here in the United States, there tends to be and this is not universally true, but there is a large divide between the quote plant medicine community and what we could just call like the broader psychedelic or psychonautic community, where there's still a lot of people who identify as psychonauts and are very interested, such as yourself, in trying out all these different tryptamines and phenethylamines and trying different combinations, and often working both with, quote, natural organic psychedelics, earth medicines, plant medicines, and also the research chemicals, these synthetic chemicals. But then there's a large contingent that's on the, quote, plant medicine side that in my sense, almost has a superiority complex around like, oh, we use plant medicine, we use
natural only.
Yeah, we don't do any of that synthetic stuff. So it seems like you're familiar with this holier than thou attitude. Yeah.
I'm really happy for what you said, because I hate this attitude, because I'm a big fan of like Alexander Shulgin, and Alexander Shulgin worked all his life to do like maybe 100 or like 200 of different molecules, tryptamine, phenethylamines, beautiful things. And like people were like, yeah, we only do things from nature, and we don't even know if mushrooms came from like an asteroid eating Earth, and they just do alien substances. We don't know like what is made of. Like for me, like really the things about natural and synthetic, like these people like Brugmansia is natural,
it's
right?
Natural.
Brugmansia is like, man, it's the most like I think the most dangerous accessible molecule around. Like with fentanyl and heroin, you can overdose, you can be addicted, but like Brugmansia, you can kill people, you can jump off a roof, you can like like really I hate people who thinks like there is some superiority in doing like just natural thing, because like I tried like from natural and from the other, and I saw you in your website you say like don't do 5-MeO-DMT from the frog, do 5-MeO-DMT synthetic. Like there is no reason to go and torture a frog because like to take your drug. Like
yeah, and this could be apocryphal. I don't know if this is a real quote or not, but I have seen somewhere that's supposedly a quote from Shulgin saying, well, aren't I a part of nature too?
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm nature. Yeah. I created these molecules, therefore isn't this natural in some sense? Yeah. I think it's a really artificial divide, and it's kind of a double-edged sword in the United States, because what's happened is there's been a strong push for what is called the decriminalized nature movement, which I think is a legitimate movement that says, look, if something grows naturally on the planet, it should not be illegal. And so that has led to the decriminalization of psychedelics in certain areas, such as Oregon, we did some decriminalization, but then we actually moved backwards. Colorado, various communities in Oregon, Washington, California, but then it does leave out things like LSD, MDMA, synthetic 5-MeO, DMT, 2CB, all the rest of these, and so it reinforces this narrative that something that comes from, quote, the earth is somehow better. But, all these molecules, even as we're talking about it, all these molecules still exist on Earth, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where we are. They're on Earth. So for me, I don't really care where they come from. I'm more interested in what they do personally.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think there is like beautiful molecules that are synthetic. Like even in the synthetic molecule, like right now, the studies about molecule, like you have studies about shrooms, LSD, MDMA, DMT, 5-MeO-DMT, ketamine, maybe few others. Like there is hundreds and hundreds of molecules. Like, I don't know if you explored a lot with the empathogens, but like in empathogens, you have the classic like MDMA. Like, there is a family closely related that are like benzofurans, where you have like 5-APB, 5-MAPB, 6-APB, 6-MAPB, and there is others. And for me, they are even more interesting because like 5-MAPB is like a longer lasting MDMA, like maybe like 6 hours, something like this, which is not stimulant like MDMA, it's sedative, and it's really great to go in introspection for therapeutical purposes. Like really 5-MAPB is really more interesting than MDMA in like introspective, the introspective way. And 6-APB is a wonderful molecule. And all this lasts longer than MDMA and have less calm down. The calm down of MDMA is harsh, is difficult, or like at least medium, but like the calm down of 6-APB and 5-MAPB is way easier, smoother. And this molecule, like there is always like people say with like synthetic molecule, yeah, we just have discovered them, yeah, we know nothing about it. I'm like, all these molecules like came before COVID, and like COVID, they took a year and they give the vaccine to everyone. Yeah, can we like go and study this molecule and like, and there is so much to do, and like we're doing, not me and you, we're doing our best. Like the studies, etc., are doing so little in comparison of what we have in front of us. It's a shame, honestly. It's a shame.
Yeah. So Nuit, have you kept accurate track? Do you know? Do you have the actual number of how many different substances you have tried at this point? Do you keep a master list?
I don't have a master list, but there is a guy, I forgot his name. It's the one who posted the most of the top writer of Arrowwide, the trip reports. And this guy, I was going to his blog like a few days ago, and he tried like 250 different molecules. And I went through his list, and I remember some. I think I tried something like close to 100 molecules, something close to that.
Oh, well, let's go ahead and transition now just into focusing on what are some of your favorites. And I also know, as we've already mentioned, that you enjoy doing different combinations. And that also, I would say, is something that I have really enjoyed is I like to call them cocktails. And mixing different things together, I think, is just absolutely fascinating, because then you get these experiences that are unlike either of the things that you're mixing together. You get these very interesting syntheses. So what are some of your favorites? What do you like to do?
Honestly, I'm really happy that you like combination, because for me, when I see lots of people like who like not only don't mix substances, but like I'm like, I only work with mama ayahuasca. I just do LSD. I just do shrooms. I just do this. Imagine if you want someone like, just eat carrots, man. I just eat carrot. Like,
I love carrots.
I love carrots, man. You don't imagine, like, for me, carrots is just fine. Why I will look for another food? Imagine, like, they didn't try another food, but they don't want to taste it. They're fine with eating just carrots. Combination is really something I love from the beginning. Like my first trip I told you was combining LSD and MXP, which is like a dissociative close to like a long-lasting ketamine. And I tried like many, like for me, there are 3 families we can work with, like who could closely related to psychedelics. Like I told you, empathogens, psychedelics, and dissociative. And like there is a lot to mix. There is a lot to mix just between psychedelics, just between each family, and then you can mix the family. A trip between psychedelics and empathogens have, like you have the famous candy flip, you have the less famous nexus flip, and then there is the mix between like empathogens and like dissociative when you have the kitty flip with MDMA and ketamine, and there is like also the mix of like psychedelics and dissociative. There is so many mixes to do that I feel that all the work is on my shoulder because there is not enough people mixing molecules, man. Not lying to you. But yeah, myself, I really focused a lot on the psychedelic and pathogenic combination because I've read really early about the candy flip combination, and my biggest experience by far was like in like the 9th September 2017. I still remember the date, and it was a candy flip where I took like 2.5 tabs of 100 micrograms, so 250 micrograms of LSD, and I added a big dose of 6-APB by error because I didn't hopefully it wasn't that big of a dose. It was like not it was like in the high, not something like heavy and dangerous. So just a high dose, but I was going for a low dose, so it was really surprising. Yeah. And it was maybe like 170 milligrams of 6-APB succinate form. And so maybe the equivalent of like 180 milligrams of MDMA. And when it came up, it was so intense, but like so great. Hard to find really the words in English, but it was really crazy. And the experience in the beginning, before going at the like ego death part, was like the strongest trip of all my life, and I was already having like maybe 40 trips behind me, lots of them above 150 micrograms, and this one was like completely crazy. And when I smoked cannabis up on it, like maybe at the peak, like 4 or 5 hours into it, I remember I was having like lots of visual, but at one moment I was smoking and I was like, okay, like I can go really deeply into my brain and reprogram everything and see the things completely differently. But there is also something else in the background. I can go in it. And at this moment, I didn't really knew what was ego death was. Like I was young, I was 20 years old, but I was reading a book from like Eckhart Tolle, who like talks a lot about non-duality, etc. Yeah. And what sentence really was hit me hard that I never understood before that trip was like, you aren't your thoughts, you are the consciousness behind these thoughts. If you want to know if you would exist, without this consciousness in the background, go and sondez-la in French with like dive in it, like dive until the end in it. And when I started doing it, like there was a tree in front of me. I was having visual, but nothing crazy. The trees started shaking really intensely. It transformed in a cat with like the skin of like the universe, with the eyes changing color and hypnotizing and telling me like in a language I don't know, I can show you everything that will happen in your life if you follow me into death. And at that moment, I was like, okay, let's go. And sure. I died. Let's say I died, and like it was completely like it changed everything. And I think that this particular combination of like 6-APB, LSD, and cannabis, but I think other molecules can be used for similar combination, brought me to a state that I only came close to this state with the use of 5-MeO DMT. Like 5-MeO DMT was only, I didn't break through. Maybe I didn't take enough. Maybe I wasn't prepared. I don't know. But I really think with combination, you can go real deep. Like there is a researcher in English, you can go check him. It's Andres Gomez Emilson.
Oh yeah, like he's been on the podcast. Yeah.
Oh, great, man. Oh, yeah. Great.
Yeah, but go ahead, please. Yeah.
Okay, and he did a great video about candy flipping for non-duality blissfulness, non-duality consciousness. And he's like the perfect candy flip would be like a candy flip, where in the end, like he's like, okay, you can add cannabis, but you can add something better, which is 2CB. And after my big experience, we had a wonderful, like my strongest experience for all my life, when honestly I was still high for months after, like really for months. I could just close my eyes, put them, like let them roll in the back, and feel like I'm going back to the source. But I was like, yeah, cannabis wasn't the ideal substance, because cannabis is really tricky. You can have a great experience with mixing cannabis. You can have an horrific experience with mixing cannabis. 2CB is more reliable. And for Andres Gomez, something that I was like researching before, seeing his video, that confirmed me the way I was going. Is like you add 2CB on a candy flip, like few hours after the empathogens, and it keeps like the psychedelic qualities going, the empathogenic quality going, because like this combination that is called like an alley flip. Like I did it so much, my friends, so they call it after me, because I love this experience. It's a candy flip with a Nexus flip. So just to tell Nexus flip quickly, Nexus flip is like 2CB and MDMA. You take MDMA, and like 2 hour and a quarter and a half after, you take 2CB, and the 2CB keeps the quality of the empathogenic quality of MDMA going. You don't have an MDMA crash, and you have MDMA effects again for longer, and you have new discovery, because 2CB is really good for going into resistance. There is a great book in English, I think, psycholytic psychotherapy, psychedelics of the 20th century, of Frederick Fisher-Meckel, and she talks a lot about combination of these three substances. And I really think that this combination of three substances, which is my favorite, because I went to working about it, I talk so much about it, people start trying it, and then I interview with them, so they tell me it's really a trip that is intense, but really manageable, because with the empathogenic quality of MDMA, or you can use something else like 6-APB, it inhibits fears. Like MDMA and the molecules like this inhibit fears, like I think the amygdala or something. I'm not really into biology, but yeah, you're not fearful, so you can go deep, you can accept death, ego death. And then the problem with the candy flip I was having, because I explored like a lot of candy flip before finding something else, was like in the candy flip you can go really deep, but the calm down will hit you like a bitch, like for real, because you come down from like LSD. The come down isn't that rough, but isn't that pleasant also, and you come down from MDMA that isn't pleasant. So you have wonderful revelation, but the come down is harsh, and your boundaries came back. You're like, okay, I was just high, now I'm not feeling good, etc. And Frederick Fisher-Meckel was telling, like 2CB is a great adjunct to MDMA, because then you don't have the come down, and because you don't have the come down, you can keep in the state of mind, and you can work again differently. A way I like to describe it is like with the LSD, you go really deep in the cave, in the underground of your house. Yeah. But you go there, you're scared. It's dark. There is no light. There is those big spiders doing nests and something like this. You're afraid to go. With the empathogens, it's like you put lights on it. You put lights on it, you put maybe like a great smell, like something, like you don't have the fear. The fear is no longer here. So you can go and clean your cave, your underground. So you go, you clean the spider nest, the thing, etc. You clean it. But then with a classic candy flip, the effects are ended. You should go back. You're exhausted. Yeah, you clean chinks in you. You change chinks. You heal for many things. But you're just exhausted and you want to sleep. And will you go again in your there? But with 2CB, it's like where you go after you have time to explore the area that were locked in your mind, those doors that were locked, to open them and to bring a life in it, to go to explore them, to sit in them, to like put like something like a drawing or a painting in the wall, to make it somewhere when you want to live, where you want to be. And I think it's a long experience, but it's a really complete one.
So you've already mentioned that sometimes adding in cannabis can be tricky for people. I'm someone I've pretty much had a very positive relationship with cannabis since I was 15. The very first time I tried it, I was like, yeah, I like this one. But I know for a lot of people, their relationship with cannabis changes over the years and over time. Sometimes people say, yeah, it went great until then one day it just locked me into anxiety and paranoia and I've never been able to get out of it. So I'm someone who I always enjoy cannabis with whatever psychedelic experience I'm having at some point. I find for me personally, it brings it up. You know, as soon as things are starting to go down, you put in some cannabis. Oh, we're back in. It's back up, and so it works really, really well for me. I'm very happy and confident adding in cannabis pretty much at any time. But with these combinations, I'm just curious. Other than cannabis, because it does have this tricky aspect for some people. Are there other combinations, or has there ever been a time where you've added something and then as it's coming on, it's like, ooh, this was a bad idea. I don't like where this is going. Is there any advice that you would give there about like maybe don't combine this with that or?
Yeah, too many times, honestly, too many times that there are some things that you shouldn't combine. One bad experience I had younger was like I smoked passion flower. I think, that's passion flower. It's passiflore in French.
Yeah.
When I was under the effect of 25C NBOMe. So I wanted to try NBOMe, like you probably know, NBOMe. And with the... I tried NBOMe like in the beginning with really low dose, like half, like maybe 200 micrograms, then 400, etc. And I was having a trip with NBOMe, but it was a moment in my life when I wanted to stop smoking cigarettes. Because in Europe in general, people like smoke cannabis with cigarettes, so I was like, okay, I will find other plants, and I found like Damiana and passion flower, which are a great plant that I still use today. But the problem is like I didn't know that passion flower have some IMAO activity, IMAO activity.
Yeah.
And the problem, I was like under the effect of NBOMe. I was a little bit tensed because I was stopping cigarette. And I was like doing fine in the trip, and I went back home. I was like, I want to smoke. I smoked passion flower with cannabis, and I started going crazy. Like it was really like a kind of psychotic break. Like really, I went crazy. I hit my head on the wall. I was having really high vasoconstriction, so it was really painful. And it affected me for weeks. Really, weeks after, I felt really weak. And it was until weeks ago, I was like, "Hey, I felt that bad. It wasn't just the NBOMe; it was the NBOMe because I smoked animal on it." Like I remember this. So like there is some combination that are just dangerous. Like honestly, like be really careful with MAOIs. Like for real. And empathogens, when you check an empathogens like MDMA family, be careful because there is a lot of MAOIs. Like you can eat too much licorice, and like too much licorice, you will have MAOI's effect. There is a lots and lots and lots of plants that have MAOI's effect. I think like a little of something, like a little of turmeric or something like this isn't problematic, like really low MAOI activities, but like something with a stronger MAOI activities can be like really dangerous, or even you can die from it. There is some dangerous combination, like I think DXM and MDMA is really dangerous. Like I think, before doing any combination, research a lot about it, and not just combination. Sometimes like basic medicine, like aspirin. Be careful. Like some things don't mix with aspirin. Something like if you do, like for me, I use a lot of supplements, a lot of plants, a lot of vitamins. You have to learn the specificity specificities of everything you're doing to not put yourself in danger.
Yeah. I'm curious, do you put out this information on your YouTube channel about like these are ones you don't want to combine together? Is that also part of what you're putting out there just to help educate people about these potential dangers?
Yes, completely. I have a video about like the maybe don't combine these molecules or don't combine this with psychedelics or things like this. But yes, I tell every substance what you shouldn't combine it with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And I'm sorry that you've had your own difficult experiences, but that's part of the danger of being an explorer.
Yeah.
That sometimes you're going to put some things together that maybe that doesn't work so well together. And I'm glad that you made it through with this passion flower and what is it? NBOME. Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that is quite intense, just all on its own. And can be rather
It
visual.
depends on the dose. I think really like when it first started, people were dosing too high because I remember like my tab of 25C NBOME was like 800 micrograms. And at that time, when you go look in AeroWide and Psychonaut Wiki, it was like a medium dose. And a few months ago, I went to look and the 800 micrograms was like considered a high dose. So I think maybe it was more something overdosed than something else. I don't think the molecule is that bad on itself. I think in microdose it can be really interesting, like because it have like stimulant properties, like you really feel like you're under, like it's really you feel like you mix like LSD with speed or like more 2CB with speed or something like this. I think in low dose it can be safe and manageable in some setting, maybe recreationally. I think that's a molecule that can get dangerous really quickly. And like, I think that's something like I suggest maybe avoiding. And for people that are experimented, maybe like discover it really progressively. Like, because it's not a big no, like Brigmansia, where I said, like, really don't touch this flower. Don't even look at it. Really, don't even look at it. Like,
yeah. Well, Nuit, this has been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed kind of exploring all of these different combinations of letters and numbers with you. You've been very generous with your time, so I think I'm going to let you go now. But before we wrap it up, is there just anything that I didn't cover that you'd want to share with the listening audience, or anything that's coming up for you that you want to mention in any way?
Honestly, to be honest with you, like there is so much to say about some of the subject, like we briefly bring, like, when you told me about like some molecules, like I tried like lots of molecules, like 2CE, lots of the pical and tical of Shulgin. And I think like that's something it can take lots of time. So maybe if you're in one day to talk about it again, it would be a great pleasure, because I cannot talk about like some wonderful molecules in just a little time.
Yeah, I think that would be fun to have a follow-up conversation at some point, and just we can go through the alphabet.
Yeah, that would be great, really. Like a conversation where we just go from every molecule, and there is some really strange name. Like, so one molecule was named U47,700, which is a molecule I tried. And there is a lot. There is 2CP, which is like a really long molecule. You're tripping for 16 hours. And like the family of dissociative are many beautiful things. There is like DCK, which is dechloroketamine, which is for me even more interesting than ketamine. And there is a lot. Like Moxie, you told me you love Moxie. I love Moxie. I want to try Foxy too right now. But there is so many to talk about. I would love, one day, whenever you want, my man, whenever you want.
Great. Well, that gives us both something to look forward to, and that'll be a lot of fun. And I'll definitely enjoy having you back on, and we can get into another extended conversation. And we'll just go through the alphabet. Go for the alphabet, and we'll go down the number list, and we'll see how many we can hit.
Great.
All right, Ali. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And again, your podcast, sorry, I keep saying podcast, but it's your YouTube channel, is the Ali Nuit channel?
Just Nuit. Just
Nuit.
Nuit.
And so for the
Yeah, exactly.
listeners, there'll be a link in the podcast description, but Nuit is spelled Nuit. So it's
Yeah,
French for night. All right. Well,
exactly.
I believe it's probably you're well into the night now in Morocco. So I hope you have a very pleasant night and a great
Thank you a
day
lot.
tomorrow. And thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you a lot, Martin, for having me there.
Okay.